Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I am so glad you're here. Today's date is Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. This video is going to be mildly woo. So if your world lens doesn't embrace the thought of ET races, then you may want to skip this one, okay? It's not about current events per se, unless you accept that alien races may be part of our current events. So I'll see you in another video if this doesn't appeal to you, and if not, we're going to dive right into it. Okay, folks, I was listening recently, and I've got a link to what I listened to, and I'll share that with you to some extent, as much as I can on this platform. And I was listening, and Gene Decode mentioned that there were benevolent ET races. To think that there wasn't was rather silly. And he gave some good reasons why, including the fact that if we accept that we have back engineered some technology that's come from downed UFOs, the fact that we were even allowed to do that speaks something to the benevolence of ET races, because if they have the wherewithal to come hundreds of millions of miles to visit our planet or what have you, and do have some sort of mishap, they've got the technology to retrieve whatever they choose to retrieve and do whatever they choose to do. It kind of made sense to me. And I thought, maybe it's time that I tackled this, especially since it seems like, according to what I'm hearing in the news, there is more and more talk of alien races, or ET, as I hear it rather be called, ET races, and there's fear mongering going on about the entire topic. My personal thought, and it's subject to change based on evidence, is that I imagine ET races are like our singular human race, and that there's many more good than bad. And it doesn't take a stretch of the imagination for me to believe that there are good ones who are willing to, within universal law constraints, give us some help. What are those law constraints? Well, before I show you my share screen and the compilation I did, this is important information to get out there. Okay, if you're still watching this, you're open to the concept of ETs. And you're open, hopefully, to the concept that they're not all bad, that some of them may be benevolent and willing to help us. Some of them may even constitute what is called our star families. It makes sense to me that there is a non-interference law that they have to kind of abide by. Okay, now, you're not interfering if someone asks for help. You may choose not to provide that help, but you're not interfering. And so I just wanted to share with you that I have used that thought, not even totally sure it was true or not. It was kind of like, what can it hurt? And I frequently, when I pray, about situations in our world, whether it's chemtrails, pollution in the oceans, things like that, I'll say, I'll pray to my loving creator, to God as I know him to be. And I'll say, and I'm including this appeal to benevolent ET races for help with cleaning up our oceans, keeping whales safe, keeping dolphins safe, cleaning up chemtrails so that they're nothing but beneficial if that wasn't their initial intent, for pollution cleanup, for radioactive cleanup. There's lots of things that I've just openly asked for benevolent ET help, off-world help. And like I said, that help may not come if what we're told about universal laws and stuff is true, but it couldn't have come without someone specifically asking for that help and that assistance. So give that some thought. If it's one of those things that, hey, she's right, it can't hurt, it might help, so why not do it? Let's get the word out there, get the thought out there, get us all collectively thinking of things we'd like, an end to cruelty to animals, an end to successful arson attempts. Let's go big on this one and think large. Okay, so since some of you may be new to adding in the thought of ET involvement in our current events, and you know what? It's not that long ago that I wouldn't have been one of you too. So I thought, let's take this, let me put my teacher hat on for a minute here and say, okay, if I was just starting to explore this topic, what are some good things I'd want to read without taking up hours and days? And here's a few that I came up with, okay? Hang on just a second. Okay, now this is obviously just artwork. So, and it's not the full image or I'd have copyright issues, but I just thought it was pretty. So I put this up here. This is really good, a good starting place. This is called the ascensionglossary.com. It's Benevolent E.Ts. It an extra dimensional beings. It gives you a rundown of the races as we understand them to be right now, what they might be. So let me click on this real quick. I should have had that kind of behind my Facebook compilation. It looks a lot like a Wikipedia entry, and it lists the various ET races as we understand them right now to be, okay? And this is our benevolent ET. So start there. Get kind of familiar with some of these terms and groupings and what have you, if you were interested. Now, eraoflight.com had something that I thought was really, really good. This is actually just from the 18th of this month. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's talking about how we've already been deceived, okay? Humans have already been tricked as much as possible. Many have worshipped false ET gods for thousands of years. They've controlled every institution. Humans have already failed our discernment test. The shift is near, and Galactic Federation won't allow any blue beam scenarios. The cabal doesn't have fleets of crafts, and the idea that the world is going to be tricked by holograms on your computer screen is unintelligent. Now, this is a Laura note. Notice unintelligent doesn't say impossible. We humans have proven to be very, very dense. Understand, this is important. Understand that your thoughts and beliefs create your reality, and by only expecting lies, you're creating scenarios where truth is impossible for you. I thought that was pretty profound, actually. Okay, now here is the Patriot Underground that I was listening to that had Gene Decode, and one of the things he was talking about was benevolent ETs. Kind of about 45 minutes or so into it, I didn't mark it. I was just listening while I did dishes and other things. So you'll just have to listen through that if you're interested in that. And then I thought this was really good. Here is at starseedhub.com, a compilation of the best ET UFO sightings and incidents, and it's got some backup in the form of proofs and what have you. Let me click on it real fast. I think it'll be okay. Yeah, it's got sources attached to it. So, we can go a little deeper and a little farther. So that should get you started here. Now, the last thing, we're going back again to eraoflight.com. I really like that site. And in the 24th of June, just a few days ago, when they were talking about the Schumann, they also got into talking about some of the UFOs and things like that, okay, and why some of the information has been suppressed, okay, and it's really good to read, because it touched on not only the UFO information, how it's skewed so that people fear that any contact is going to be negative, that that we can be bamboozled so easily. And we've proven we can in the past. Let's prove that we won't in the future. So here's how I want to phrase a question to the universe, okay? Is the information that the benevolent ET races far outnumber the negative ones accurate? And are there other insights and information about ET races and disclosures the universe would like to share at this time. So let's see what the universe has to say. We're going to find out together. So again, our question is the information that benevolent ET races far outnumber the negative ones accurate? And are there other insights and information about those benevolent ET races that the universe would like us to have at this time? Okay, our first card is the Four of Wands. Talk about benevolence. Nine of Swords. Temperance. It's looking good, folks. Page of Swords. Nine of Pentacles. Knight of Swords. Ace of Swords. So we got a solid yes. Okay. One of the things that the universe knows is as I read and set these cards out, wherever I get an ace, I'm getting a yes, no matter where it shows up in the read. Okay, so let's talk about these cards a little bit. I think the best thing to do would be to tell you my initial insights from them, and then I'll show you where in the cards it's led me to believe. We absolutely, according to what I'm seeing here, have some teamwork going on with benevolent ET races and ourselves. We've got a solid yes here. I've got a cat that's trying to get in the video. That tells you it's an important question. I've got a solid yes here that they outnumber the negative ones by quite a bit. Okay. Now, and that there's far less to worry about than we're being told by the mainstream media about them, that they do work with our alliance. And so our alliance is a coordinated effort of not only country leaders within our planet, but also off-world. Okay, so now let's get into some of the card elements that backed up those statements or made me feel confident enough to say, here's what the cards are telling. This card, the Four of Wands, is sometimes called the 1111 card because of the Four Wands, and that's if you don't know angel numbers, you may want to look that up and see, but it's also just a card of loving teamwork, often used in relationships. And interestingly enough, it came up in this spot in the last couple times that I have had conversations with someone who is awake, aware, and actually really in close contact with off-world energies. So interesting that it shows up here. Now, and again, we're getting here, when the Nine of Swords shows up, its predominant meaning is there's much less to worry about than you think there are. So even though the mainstream media is trying to do some fear mongering and have us worry about an alien invasion, if they were going to invade, they would have done so a long time ago. But we're also getting some confirmation that any kind of attempt that they do to bamboozle us with a false flappy thing is not going to be successful. It's not going to nearly have the effect that they wanted it to. The recent past, we've got the Temperance card showing up, which is a card showing first of all, it's a major arcana, and it's a card that always talks about moderation, and it's a very balanced and loving energy, and kind of magical. If you see how if you look at the cups here, there's really no way without a little magic involved that one would pour into the other. And we're assuming with density being what it is, that the flow is this way, but who's to say? Okay, it may be a back and forth type of energy. So the Page of Swords shows up here for our current, and when the Page of Swords, it's a curiosity one, so it's an intelligent one. So yes, we're not being called stupid to ask these questions and consider that we may have off-world help and connections that we have been kind of kept from seeing and understanding and knowing fully. The Page of Swords also talks about diplomacy and truth. So they knew in their time, okay, that we would, as we're ready to accept these concepts and not freak out, we will have those contacts We will have those connections. We will have, we're going to see some marvelous and wonderful things going forward. Now, here's our near future. Look, all three of these cards are beautiful, beautiful cards. Okay, we've got the Nine of Pentacles, which is a card of, look, there's trust, abundance going on here. And this female figure is kind of one of the stronger divine feminine energy cards in the deck. And again, as we've spoken about in previous videos, the world is coming to a place where we will be back in balance with the masculine, divine masculine, and they need the divine feminine to offset and balance. It'd be kind of like having trying to be at the gym and working with barbells that only have weights on one side when it's out of balance. It's not going to work. You may work one side, but you're not going to get nearly the effect you would with balancing those weights and having them work together at the same time. Knight of Swords, one of my strongest White Hat Alliance cards, again, kind of confirming that they're out there and they are working with us off-world. And again, being a free will universe, asking for that help is kind of the starting point. So if you want to review the start of my video and get that kind of, in your thought processes, make it part of your life, please feel free to do so, because I think it'd be very powerful. Let's get two more cards and see what the universe wants us to know about benevolent ET presence, help, anything associated with that. We have the Five of Wands. My initial thought on seeing that is there has been some resistance to getting this news out. That's why the MSN, it doesn't jive well with the MSN narrative that there's much to fear, and either they wanted to either say there's none out there, it was all weather balloons, remember those days, or now, okay, they're out there, but fear them. Okay, that situation is going to be temporary. This is a card, the Three of Pentacles shows up here as our final card, and that card is always about firm foundations, good foundations. So there's a partnership here. And this card is about teamwork. So teamwork and partnership are really strong in this reading. And I think, and then again, with the alliance showing up here in Ace, it's what it's doing is saying, yeah, there are connections. There is benevolent off-world help. We are benefiting from it, and we will continue to do so, especially as we're receptive to it, because they can't interfere. But if we ask for help, they can choose to provide it. And something to think about, really is. Okay, we're on the home stretch here. Let's recap. We asked the universe if the information is accurate, that there are way more benevolent ET races out there and then negative, and other insights and information that the universe wanted to share at this time. We got a strong, emphatic yes with the Ace of Swords to the basic question. Now, what we also got, though, is some beautiful information. First of all, one of the prettiest teamwork cards in the deck shows up here. So they are working with us. They had to be invited and asked, but they are working with us. Okay. We were cautioned that any mainstream narrative that there's much to fear, that there's an attack that's imminent, is nothing but fake. Okay. And it's not going to happen. The benevolent presence is strong enough. It's simply just not going to happen. In fact, the reverse is true. We've been removing negative elements that were betraying some of those universal laws and cleaning up things above ground, above, above planet and below, and all sorts of places. Okay, moderation card showed up here. Just a reminder that they're not going to do everything for us. We have to do some of this ourselves. Okay, and so, and then just an understanding that some of this help is going to seem almost magical to us. And it's okay to be amazed, absolutely okay to be amazed. And I like that, showing up for the near past. So Page of Swords, card of diplomacy, truth, intellect. Here, we're smart to be asking about this subject. We're not stupid, so don't let anybody tell you that you are. The near future was where our Ace of Swords showed up for a strong yes. And then the Nine of Pentacles showed up for the near future, and just a card of love and abundance and strong divine feminine energy, which we're sorely in need of to get, into balance. I like that. And then our final two cards. Strong partnership, firm foundations. Okay, so the alliance with these benevolent races already has a firm foundation established. It's going to get nothing but stronger. There's still going to be some resistance to the information and to letting people know freely how much and to what extent we can have this partnership, this alliance, this mentoring that we need and maybe seek and want, and I do. So I don't think that, there's some reasonable limits to what you expect, just like when you're putting in your wish list for, holidays and stuff like that. But yeah, we got a firm foundation there. And so there's really some nice contact and cooperative and collaborative possibilities that are going to be more and more evident as time goes on. And like I said, maybe it'll simply be mentoring. What we don't want to do is just because another race is more advanced than us, is to fall into the primitive response of worshiping that we don't understand or have not yet achieved for ourselves. So we can be humble and we can be curious and we can be willing to learn, and we should be all of those things. But what we don't need to be is reverent. We just need to be respectful that, wow, you guys are way ahead of us. Good for you. What can you do to help us? What can you show us? How can we get there? Questions like that. The curiosity really speaks well for any race, and that includes what we should be, is curious and grateful and back to curious, because that's such a strong, positive trait to feel. Okay. That's it for this video. I thank you so much for your time, your attention. If you're one of my subscribers, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm just glad you're here and willing to think outside the box a little bit and consider topics that aren't always mainstream. So this was a Mildly Woo and Tarot 2 with Laura. Until next time, love and light and everything bright. Bye.